All right, let's talk about something every early-stage founder knows or thinks they know. The SAFE. That's the simple agreement for future equity. It's pitched as the way to get your first funding. But, is it really the whole story?
I mean, if you're a founder, you've probably heard this a million times, right? Just raise on a SAFE. It's like the default advice everyone gives. And hey, it sounds great. Simple, fast, super founder-friendly. It's sold as this no-brainer, almost risk-free way to get that first check in the bank.
But, and this is the big but, are they actually safe? That's the real question we need to dig into, because hidden inside that nice, simple name is a ton of complexity, and it can really catch founders by surprise. The very thing that makes a SAFE feel so easy, well, that's also what can make it pretty dangerous if you're not paying close attention.
Okay, so let's be fair. Why is this the go-to advice? Look, the appeal is obvious, I get it, especially when you're a founder and you need to move at lightning speed. So let's just quickly break down what makes a SAFE look so good right out of the gate.
And here's why they feel so founder-friendly. I mean, look at this. A SAFE isn't a loan, not like a convertible note, so you're not dealing with interest payments piling up. There's no maturity date breathing down your neck, forcing you to repay the money. You don't have to negotiate away a board seat right away. It all just feels light. You get the cash, and you can get right back to building your company. It's awesome.
But that's where this one little word comes in. Yet. The SAFE doesn't show up on your cap table yet. The dilution, how much of the company you've given away, it isn't calculated yet. That feeling of simplicity is amazing, but is totally temporary. Because everything the SAFE promises to figure out later, well, later always comes.
And this, right here, is the absolute heart of the problem. Probably the biggest myth about SAFEs is that they're designed to protect founders. They're not. What they're really designed to do is postpone the hard conversations, postpone the really difficult math, and that can come back to bite you way harder later on.
So you gotta get your head around this idea of deferred dilution. It's key. All it means is you're not avoiding the math of how much ownership you're giving away. You're just kicking the can down the road until your next big fundraising round, your priced round. But here's the thing. When that day comes, the math is set in stone. It's irreversible.
This really sums up the whole disconnect, doesn't it? On one hand, you think you're just signing a simple, harmless little document. But in reality, what you're actually doing is locking in the exact terms that will decide how much of your company you're giving away in the future. And usually, there's zero room to renegotiate.
Okay, let's make this real with a quick example. So, let's say you raise $500,000 on a $5 million post-money SAFE. The math is super clean, right? The investor gets 10% of the company after their money is in the bank. Simple. Your ownership is clear. Everyone's happy.
But, and this is the hidden trap with post-money SAFEs, which are pretty much the standard now. What happens when you raise another one? Well, that new investor's 10%, it's calculated on a new total. And that dilutes everybody who came before them. That means you and your first investor too. See how your slice of the pie just got smaller? And so did investor one's. This is how founders who stack up a bunch of these SAFEs end up giving away way more of their company than they ever planned to. So all of this eventually leads to what you could call the day of reckoning, your first price round. This is the moment. It's when all that theoretical math, all those percentages you kind of push to the back of your mind, suddenly they become very real. It's when the bill for all that easy money finally comes due.
So the journey usually looks something like this, right? You sign the SAFE, you use that cash to go build your company. Then you go out to raise a proper Series A. And that priced round, that's the trigger for the final step, automatic conversion. There's no pause button. There's no, hey, let's just double check this. The terms you signed maybe months or even years ago, they just execute instantly.
And this is where you really see the power of the valuation cap. Just imagine this for a second. You sign an early SAFE with, say, a $4 million cap. A year later, you're crushing it, and you raise your Series A at a $12 million valuation. Now, your new Series A investors, they're buying shares at that $12 million price. But your early SAFE investor? Oh no, their money converts at the $4 million cap price. They are literally getting 3 times as many shares for every dollar they put in. Suddenly, that cheap early money just got really expensive for you in terms of equity.
Yeah, this quote just hits it right on the head. The speed of a SAFE is a feature until it's a bug. The second that price round gets triggered, that's it. There's no going back. You can't call up your investor and say, hey, can we adjust these terms? You can't fix a deal that turned out to be super dilutive. You are locked in. Period.
And look, the pain doesn't just stop with your own ownership percentage.
The decisions you make with these early safes, they create these massive ripple effects. They can complicate everything for your team, for your new investors. It can even hurt your ability to raise money down the line.
And these ripples are no joke. Imagine having a whole stack of different safes with different terms. It turns your cap table into a total nightmare for a new VC to even try to understand. Or worse, what if you've already sold off too much of the company with safes? A new lead investor might just look at the math and say, you know what? There's not enough of the company left for me to make this worth my while. And that creates all sorts of problems. It even makes it harder to hire great people, because how can you give them a clear answer on what their stock options are really worth?
This really shows you how it hits your team. So you think you're setting aside a nice 10% option pool for your employees. But then, after all those safes convert, poof, that 10% is suddenly 10% of a much smaller pie than you thought. And to make matters worse, your new VC might come in and demand that you refresh the option pool before they invest. And guess who takes the hit for that? You do, the founder. You have to dilute yourself even more just to get the deal done.
Okay. So after all of that doom and gloom, what's the answer? Is it never use a safe? No, not at all. The answer is to stop using them as a lazy shortcut and start using them as a strategic tool. So let's get into the playbook.
This is really the most important thing to remember. Safes aren't inherently bad. They're just tools. You know, a hammer is a great tool, but you wouldn't use it to fix a delicate watch, right? Same thing here. A safe can be amazing for getting that early cash in the door fast. The problem is never the tool itself. It's using it blindly without truly understanding the long-term cost.
So what's the smart way to do this? Step 1. Model it out before you sign anything. Seriously, you don't need fancy software, just a basic spreadsheet. Run the numbers. See what your ownership looks like at different future valuations. This is all about replacing, I hope this works out, with actual math. Step 2. Keep your terms aligned. If you're going to raise on more than one safe, don't have a bunch of different valuation caps. It's a mess. Keeping them consistent makes life so much easier later and shows investors you've got your act together. And finally, step 3, think about your next round today. When you're raising on a safe, do it with your future Series A lead investor in mind. A clean, simple safe structure tells them you're a pro who knows how this game is played.
And I absolutely love this quote. Clarity isn't a luxury, it's leverage. Because knowing your numbers isn't just some boring homework assignment. When you can walk into a VC meeting and explain your cap table without breaking a sweat, you are negotiating from a position of pure strength. That clarity, that is your leverage. So that really brings us to the final question you have to ask yourself. Is your safe just a shortcut to avoid hard decisions? Or is it a genuine strategy to help you build your company? Because at the end of the day, a safe only keeps you safe if you know exactly what you're doing.